Greetings from Missouri, the 24th state to join the Union, which it did on August 10, 1821. With 5.8 million residents, Missouri is the 18th most populous state in the nation. Most people call Missouri the Show Me State, an affectionate reference to its down-to-earth Midwestern skepticism.
Well, you tell them something, you got to prove it to them.
You just can't fake it. You got to be for real.
Residents may be united in their skepticism, but they're divided about pronouncing the state's name.
One person down the street.
This state is both Missouri and Missouri. People pronounce it differently depending on what part of the state they're from.
Politics is something Missouri folks know a thing or two about. They are better than any other state at picking presidents. In the past 26 national elections, Missouri has sided with the winner every time, except once, when they voted for Adlai Stevenson in 1956. Missouri's two major metropolitan areas, Kansas City and St. Louis, sit on opposite sides of the state and account for more than 3/4 of its industrial activity. Once considered a cow town, Kansas City rules the West. Today it has the most fountains and boulevards in the world, outside of Rome and Paris. To the east, St. Louis claims one of the world's first skyscrapers, as well as the largest monument in the United States, the Gateway Arch. Measuring 630 feet at both its base and its peak, the arch was built to commemorate Missouri's pivotal role in America's westward expansion.
As a child here in St. Louis, I grew up with watching it being built. Presidents came here from FDR's time on to LBJ's to see it completed.
The capstone was inserted on October 28, 1965.
They weren't quite sure that it would go in at the right space, but it was just perfect from quarter inch to quarter inch.
The arch stands near the confluence of the Mississippi and Missouri rivers, the two great waterways that have long defined the state.
The only real natural boundary of Missouri that is clear and that everyone recognizes is the Mississippi River. Missouri, like most territories in the western United States, started as a square.
The shape of the state changed in 1811 after the New Madrid earthquake, the largest earthquake to ever strike the continental U.S.
One of the effects of the earthquake was to lead people to declare a lot of land in southeastern Missouri ruined.
A speculator named John Walker snatched up both the devastated territory and lands to the south of it. When Missouri joined the Union in 1821, Walker lobbied vigorously to have his holdings added to the new state.
When Missouri was getting to be a state, he had an enormous amount of power and wealth in land, and he was able to get his section put in to Missouri becoming a state in 1821 because he knew what that would mean for him, the price of his land and the value.
It was Walker's annexed land, some of which had belonged to Arkansas, that gave Missouri its distinctive boot heel. In 1836, the shape of the state changed again, courtesy of William Clark.
William Clark is really the dominant figure in Missouri's early history. People, of course, know him now as Meriwether Lewis's sidekick on the Lewis and Clark expedition. But after that expedition returned, he was dispatched back to Missouri, and he was a territorial official, an Indian agent. William Clark signed more Indian treaties than any other American official.
One of those treaties expanded the state's northwestern corner. In 1816, Clark convinced the Iowa, Sauk, and Fox tribes to move west of the Missouri River to accommodate white settlers. The cost? A mere $5,500. The new section of the state was larger than Delaware and Rhode Island combined. The relocation of the native population provided an opening for further trade and settlement. Missouri's rivers provided the means via steamboats that first appeared in the region around 1820.
Steamboats enabled Missouri to be at the hub of a continental trading network that could go up the Missouri River to the Continental Divide and could go down the Mississippi River. So naturally, this was very much a commercial nexus for the United States.
One of the highest paid professional people in early America would have been a pilot on a steamboat. It was such a respected vocation.
The best-known riverboat pilot to emerge from Missouri was Samuel Clemens, who grew up in the river town of Hannibal.
Samuel Clemens is, of course, a product of that riverboat culture. And the young man who becomes Mark Twain, in many ways, learns about Missouri, learns about America, learns about language itself by working and traveling on steamboats.
Even Clemens' pen name was drawn from his Missouri riverboat experience.
Riverboats have a shallow draft, and they can only take a certain depth before they ground it. And so marking Twain was actually to measure the depth fathom-wise of the river.
The riverboats gave westward-bound pioneers easy access to the trailheads in northwestern Missouri.
As large numbers of migrants started heading west, they could come through Missouri, which everyone knew was the point of embarkation for points farther west. You could get the equipment you needed, you could find guides, you could find information, you could gain the knowledge that you needed in order to survive what was really a terrifying experience for many people. They didn't know what they would find in the West.
Among the early immigrants to the region were French and German settlers who arrived with a love of the land and a knack for cultivating it. As a result, the state became a world leader in an industry few people today would equate with Missouri: winemaking. In the 1860s, France's vineyards were nearly wiped out by a plague of Phylloxera louse, an insect that attacks the roots of the grapevine. Missouri came to the rescue.
And they discovered that the grapes growing in Missouri in turn graft these grapes with theirs and make the strong rootstock. And it did. It saved the French grapes.
The state's vineyards continued to produce fine wines, though not on the scale of the 19th century. As it turned out, however, Missouri was also the perfect place to produce another beverage, one that still dominates world markets today. In 1852, German immigrant Adolphus Busch and his father-in-law, Eberhard Anheuser, set out to revolutionize the beer industry. Their first move was to incorporate cutting-edge science.
Adolphus Busch realized the value of pasteurization. He had learned of these efforts by Louis Pasteur when he was over in Germany and Europe studying brewing technique.
To expand sales, Busch created the first national beer distribution system.
What he did is he looked at sending his beer throughout the country, particularly out into the West because there was less competition. So he decided he would put railside ice houses where they were needed strategically so that he could ship his beer, the unpasteurized beer, as well as the bottled pasteurized beer, in his rail cars as far as to the West Coast or down into Arizona or Texas.
By 1901, Anheuser-Busch was indeed the king of beers, outselling every other brewery in America. Then came 1920 and 13 years of prohibition. The company survived by making cheap products like baker's yeast and ice cream. When the 18th Amendment was finally repealed, Anheuser-Busch delivered a special gift to the Capitol building, a wagon load of Budweiser beer, pulled, of course, by a team of Clydesdales. Today, Budweiser and Bud Light are the best-selling beers in the world, and though Anheuser-Busch has grown into a global conglomerate, it remains true to Missouri, keeping its headquarters in St. Louis. Today, Missouri strives to maintain a careful balance between social, business, and environmental concerns, as evidenced by world-class universities, public sports facilities, and wildlife preserves. It all makes the Show Me State a place that is definitely worth calling home.
I've been to a lot of places around the United States, and I've never felt as comfortable as I do right here in the state of Missouri. This is always going to be a state where they say, you show me you're a good person, I'm going to treat you like you're a good person.
Look here. I'm talking about America, sweet America.